As a companion to my last video, I figured I'd cover a different set of units. Ones that were once mighty. They used to rule the world. Well, no. But all of these were once extremely relevant in a game, be it in PvP, which, let's be real, is most of this list, or PvE. So, let's take a look at them and talk about how they used to work and what happened. A few things before we get into it. 1, this is entirely my opinion. I'd love to hear if you still get good mileage out of these units. 2, I'm limiting myself to 1 festival unit on this list, period. If I didn't, this would be, well, a Fest Fiesta. So for the purpose of this video, 1 Fest unit only. You can probably already guess which one I picked. And on that note, number 3, 1 Collab unit only. Most of the characters from collabs that featured in PvP fell out before too long, but I could still probably fill the list with them. This way, Fest and collab characters only occupy 1 spot each on the list. And finally, this list is in no particular order. I just decided to structure it in the way that made the most sense to me. So hopefully it does to you as well. Phew! With that out of the way, let's get into it. Unlike the last one, we're going to start with our honorable mentions. Coin shop sins that aren't Gother. There were several iterations of this list, and I kept swapping out certain units, just in and out, but one theme remained the same. Boy, there were a lot of coin shop units shuffling in and out. So in the end, I decided to make most of them the honorable mention. Though one in particular does rank on the list. Shoutouts go to Green Bond. My friend Rose started playing the game in June 2022, and she asked me a month or 2 ago if this bond had any relevance. And I not so fondly remembered back in 2020 when people were running him in PvP and spammed the king laughing emote after extorting their opponents. In that moment, I understood why mono red was such a huge thing. But more on that later. These days, he's really not good for much. I know some people use his passive for a Tower of Trials floor, but otherwise he's just, another bond. We have better bonds now. Green Merlin. Alt Rush is a thing of the past now that we have units that can one-shot characters without breaking a sweat. Seeing as such, this Merlin has largely fallen out of favor. Blue King. The Kingbrim era of PvP has been finished for over 2 years. And does anyone even still do the Red Demon at this point? And so on and so forth. Number 5, Red ESCANOR. When I started playing the game in summer 2020, I had no idea what people meant when they were talking about mono red. It was only when I began actually doing PvP that I realized what it was and proceeded to loathe it with every fiber of my being. Mono red is the team of Red Gother, Red Arthur, and Red ESCANOR. Back in the day, this team was huge, especially since technically anyone could get it. See, Arthur used to be in the gold coin shop, so you could easily get a copy of him. And ESCANOR and Gother were both in the platinum coin shop, just like they are now. It didn't take much to grab them and invest. And then it was basically, upgrade, buff, watch ESCANOR go brrrr. The team had him as a beefy damage dealer, and he could also ult drain. This ESCANOR was a beast. But his reign would come to an end with the start of the Fest unit era. These days, he's given out for free, fully awakened in level 80 via the revamped Heroes Way. Even then, he really doesn't have much use. In deathmatches, you're not going to use this ESCANOR for Howlex or the original demon. And maybe he'll help in the training grotto, but otherwise, they're better units, and for that matter, better ESCANORs. Number 4, Blue LILLIA. The subheader for this entire section really should be the Pierce team in general, but she's the grease on the wheels of that team, so unfortunately it's her. Another anecdote from when I started playing. I remember people talking about how good she was and how she was absolutely necessary. Personally, I just liked her design and really wanted her because of that. It took me a bit to get her, but she was a great utility unit. With healing and ult control, LILLIA could stand her ground in PvP and PvE. And that was the big thing with her. LILLIA was used with Pierce units like Blue Demon Meliodas and Omega Rugal to boost their Pierce rates even higher. A well-built Pierce team could wipe out someone in 1 turn. It was a little nutty. Again, with festival units coming, Pierce fell out of the meta, and even with characters like Purgatory Meliodas having Pierce cards, LILLIA hasn't really come back because, unfortunately, older Catastrophe's stats aren't that great. You could put LILLIA out there, but you'd have to run some real protect the king tactics to keep her out there. She had some PvE capabilities, but she's easily outclassed by other units who do what she does, but better. It's a shame. I love her design, but she's obsolete at this point. Number 3, Lost Vein Meliodas. And here we have our FES unit of the list. I think everyone kind of knew it was coming though. Back in the fall of 2020 when he was first introduced on Global, Lost Vein Meliodas reigned supreme. If you went against one, you had to pray you got him down before he got his ult. And if he did get his ult, you'd hope that, it was a low ult level and wouldn't wipe your whole team. He was a menace. This was the era when everyone was running the Glue Eater team, the team that consisted of him, Goddess Elizabeth, and Green Gother, with Green Merlin on the backline. Needless to say, he's fallen off. I tried running him geared in a previous video. Ro and I were staging some Reinhardt battles and goofing around, and that was the only team where it was genuinely hard for us to have them win. Maybe I didn't have the right gear set on. Maybe I should have leveled him up to 100 for the bit. Or maybe, just maybe, he's fallen off pretty hard and there are better Meliodases. Back in my day, we had Rush ult to wipe the team. Okay, Grandpa, let's get you to bed. Number 2, Naofumi. Never have I seen ESCANOR fingerbang someone so hard out of the meta. My god. Naofumi, who takes the honor of being our Collab unit of the list, honestly was pretty good when he first came out. And if you paired him up with Raphtalia and another blue unit, the other team was in trouble. His passive and relic made him a beast. I'd forfeit matches against him just because I didn't want to deal with it. And then, Netmarble released the One Ultimate, a unit capable of wrecking units like Naofumi first turn. If a Naofumi didn't have all his cosmetics or decent gear, he was toast. And then Purgatory Melly came in with the steel chair! True magic versus stance characters is kind of disgusting, and Naofumi needs that stance to do what he does, so whoops. It's a shame. If Netmarble hadn't nerfed Blue Griamore, he could have made for an interesting team with Naofumi and Raphtalia. Interesting and probably really toxic. So it goes. And number 1 on the list, Halloween Matrona. Hear me out. Halloween Matrona was a must for the bird upon release. She was a much-needed taunt unit with a passive that goosed everyone's healing, and solid arguments can be made regarding her continued relevance. She's helpful to people just starting out on the bird and trying to make Miguelda's relic. But let's be honest, like so many other units on this list, the One Ultimate smashed her relevancy. I've taken her off my team because, aside for Floor 2 Phase 2, she'd become a liability for me. It was way more useful for me to use the quick clear team of the One Ultimate, Trader Meliodas, Miguelda, and Cusack. And if healing is ever a concern, I could swap Cusack for Brunhild and get the same effect. As long as you save up heavy-hitting cards and have at least one finger in hand when you get to that specific phase, you can clear it in one turn, easy. Which is unfortunate because Matrona really is made to be a bird support unit with that taunt and buff removal card to keep the bird from being turbo annoying towards the end. But she's not a heavy hitter, and ultimately, if you end up with a handful of Matrona cards against the bird, you're screwed. Rest easy, Queen. At least one Matrona unit was relevant for a while. And that's it for my list. Do you have any units that you've been feeling the power creep with? Let me know in the comments below. Which is unfortunate because Matrona is really... Can you tell it's 8:30 when I'm recording?